Oh, it's good to be back on a Fridays, and instead of it being Tier 2 nights, it's time for Tier 1s to show us how it's done. Good evening and welcome to the opening night of our FPRL Tier 1 Championship for Season 7, and Diamond is immediately in with a drink redemption like he was on Sunday. Nice to see traditions are being well kept alive by Mr. Douche. I'm Cruiser 1872, and joining me for the opening night as the curtains open and we take centre stage. Please welcome Monkey Boy Kurt.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully, we're going to have a fantastic race tonight. Pleasure to be alongside yourself, Cruiser, once again. New season, new first Tier 1 race of the season. We've had to sort of combine the two tiers. Obviously, we've gone from 4 to 3, so this should be interesting. A mix of the fastest Tier 2 drivers from last season and a lot of the Tier 1 regulars as well. From last season, and a couple of new names, it has to be said as well, making their debuts, their competitive debuts tonight. We've got Shaggy 653 in the Ferrari, and we've also got Nox Desire, or Nox Desri, or whatever we want to say. We'll probably just call him Nox in the Alfa Romeo. So, hoping for a good race and a good quali as well. So it's a good close quali as well.
Absolutely, and a few of the more eagle-eyed viewers will notice there's a certain object fungus back in the Ferrari, and if you've been with us for a while, you will know that that is a very, very dangerous combination. Season 4 picked up the opening victory and just ran away with the championship that season. So here's hoping he doesn't do that for both of our championships in Season 7. And yes, I say both, because in FPRL, in Season 7, we are hosting two championships, and the first one as Reese going a little bit wide there in the Haas, partnered up with last season's Tier 2 champion Nigel Piddle, making a step up obviously as champions do. Season 7 we are having a European Championship, which will be the first 8 rounds of a championship. Then we go on a bit of a continental tour from rounds 9 to 16, and we have a combined overall winner, so in the end technically it's 3 championships that these drivers are vying and fighting for. As we'll have a look, there is a Ferrari, and that's going to be of Shaggy, which, as a Scottish person, that name has a whole different meaning in general. But we'll try and work our way around the somewhat language barrier. As there goes a Ferrari making our way down towards the Tamburello chicane for the first time. Actually, jump on board with them a little bit deep there on entry. Mike's be getting a sighter lap, and yeah, I think safe to say that lap is scrap for the Ferrari. We'll jump over into Reese and pick up where we left off through the Villeneuve chicane and now towards Tosa, end of Sector 1, a 23.7 for the Haas. And fair to say though, Reese will have his work cut out to try and match or better Nigel Piddle throughout the championship, but Reese, we know, can put in a good shift on his day, but he needs to have quite a few consistent shifts. In the meantime, through Piratella, now Aqua Minerale. Such a tricky corner to get right, almost like a hairpin in a way, but it's just a continual right-hander despite being a little bit more blocky than some corners. Now the Variante Alta and the final chicane on this track, and I know David Lawface is going to be loving the corner pronunciation names from a Scottish person pronouncing Italian words. And now the final 2 corners on the track for the first and second of the Ravazzas, and the short dash to the line for the Haas, and our opening lap and our opening night is going to be a 1:13.9, already below the 1:14 barrier and faster than what some of the Tier 2 lads had to offer on Wednesday.
Well, I have to say, for a first lap on a first run, that is very impressive from Reese. I think that's going to have him right up there. So even towards the end, if he doesn't get a better timing, Nigel Piggott, his teammate, goes through a 14.4, so that's half a second slower. But to already break into the 13s, very impressive this early on. You'd be expecting sort of to see that come sort of the end part of the quality session. I think he's going to be right up there, Reese, with that. If he can go even quicker, then watch out for him in the race. We've got a few more times coming through now. Henkers looks like he's obviously made a mistake. That's not a respectable time. We'll have to go again. And Robin's come through with a 14.2 as well. We've got a couple of messages in the chat as well. Heskey Huff says, or Husky Heth, or don't know however you pronounce it. Thoughts on Lewis to Ferrari 2025? I have to say, I was a bit surprised when that came about, but I think it's every Ferrari driver's dream to drive for Ferrari, and I reckon he'll just probably give it 1 year. And if it doesn't go well, then he'll probably call it a day. And if it does, then he'll probably extend it. Ben, potential pole 13.5. I don't know if we'll get that quick. I know we've had a couple of drivers do a 13.5 in time trial. I don't know if they'll be able to do that in actual quali. But I'll tell you what, once again, I'll say, Reese with that 13.9, very impressive time for a first run. Can definitely be up there. And Cruise Comms and Imola, name a more iconic duo. I'll wait, says David Lowellface. I'll let you respond to that one, Cruiser.
I don't think there's much of a response needed. Dedo's Knox on a 14.9, a second. Down on Reese, Nigel in third, as you said. Midfield Maestro in the Red Bull for tonight. Their teammate Junuvane has been known for consistency in the past. I'll actually jump up towards Junuvane. Let's see where they can put them on the grid, at least provisionally for tonight. So easy to invalidate that final corner. So easy to run wide at the final corner. Junuvane manages to avoid that and goes just behind Nigel Peddle, currently 5th. We'll jump now down towards the MS Drive, who's invalidated their first run, but this looks like a double warm-up lap for the Williams. We'll leave them to it. Phenom, Nigel's teammate last season in Tier 2, up to the line. It's a 15-0, and he's ahead of Henkes, Maestro and Shadi, who's on the board. But that's does need to find improvements quite quickly. Does the Ferrari driver making their debut, so might have a few nerves for tonight. And to be fair, in this field, I wouldn't blame them. Ceres, will we call him Ceres or call him Victor? I think we'll still stick with. Well, at least I'll stick with Ceres for tonight. Up in second, still nobody though breaking into the 113s yet. Only Reese has done that, and he's going to go for a second lap. Bourbon Boy has backed off of this lap. Yep, he's going to go straight in the pits. As there goes Knox making their way into the pits, might get held up. Now, AMS Drive, the most, the most consistent overall driver. He's had 3 second places, I believe, in Tier 1. He just hasn't been able to see it over the line, but I think tonight he needs to answer a few critics and try and get towards the front of the pack. To my knowledge at least, he's been saying he's been struggling around this track as Cruz the Dog was cheering on AMS Drive. You got a fan club, AMS Drive, as Cruz the Dog cheers you on in the background. I'm gonna probably need to tell him off for interrupting the stream, but up to the line for AMS Drive, and after 14.6, I'm blaming Cruz the Dog for distractions down the microphone.
He's put AMS Drive off, it seems. Yeah, I don't think Driver would be too happy with that, even though it is put him sick. We know how quick he is in qualifying. He's always up there for pole normally. We have got an AlphaTauri coming round of Raza, who's coming on to start their lap, and he's partnered by Collateral Ads this season. 2 very close drivers at the end of Tier 2 last season, and they'll definitely be fighting it out. As I say that, I think Ads has just overshot turn 2 there, and we'll see what his split time is. I think he's compromised the lap a little bit. Yeah, 24.3. It's not too bad, but I'll have to do some work definitely to try and get into those sort of middle 14s now, which I think is going to be sort of where the sort of competitive times are going to come. We've got Jaff coming round the final corner, and he's been quite consistent in quali sometimes as well. A 14.6 for Jaff puts him up to 8th around the middle of the pack for now. And then we've also got it's just 2 AlphaTauri, so I assume we'll just follow those 2 round. Collateral Adds the first of those AlphaTauris that's going to set his time. He just comes down the hill now into the final section of the lap, and realistically, I think he's probably going to be around the high 14s here as he crosses the line. It's a 15.0, and we'll go straight behind for Raza. What's he going to put in? It's a 14.7. So yeah, like I said though, I didn't think Ads went a bit wide at turn 2, so there's probably some time in that. Only 2 drivers left now to do a lap. That's Bourbon Boy and Billy, who are both on out laps.
Jump back now towards, jump up towards Reese, who's looking to improve on their lap time as Trudeau is occupied playing with my arm. but at least it's keep them quiet, so no more distractions from them. Reese now through Acqua Minerale, and are they up on their time? They are indeed up by 2/10, so this is going to be a bit of a statement performance so far for the Haas team. First and fourth at the moment. Victor going back out for the second lap. Robin invalidated their run as I scrolled through the time charts. We've got Junivane, AMS Drive, Object Fungus, Jaff, Raza and Nox are top 10 for the moment, but Reese looking to extend his margin up at the front, and it's going to be a 1:13.8. As I said, this is a statement performance from Reese. Catch me if you can, he says.
Well, I have to say, like, this is fantastic from Reese. I mean, you know, I don't know if he's ever had a pole position in Tier 1, but this could definitely be the day that he gets it. He's normally sort of in that sort of top sort of six-pack that normally fights, you know, for sort of the top six. He never really gets himself on the top step for the qualifying, though, and this at the moment is fantastic. He's 3 tenths ahead of anyone, and like you say, really creating a good statement here for the race. If he can have this pace in the race, he's just going to run away with it. But his teammate as well is giving it a good fight. Nigel Piggle, he's up in third position with a 14.2. The only person behind him is, in front of him is Victor Ceres, separating him and his teammate. We got Bourbon Boy as he comes. No, he's on a lap as well. Billy in the McLaren is one of the others to set a lap. He's at a 23.7 through the first sector, which I believe is another good time. I think we'll have some drivers here maybe doing 3 runs. Oh, and that's an invalidation for Billy. He will not be enjoying that, as I think that was a good first sector from the McLaren man.
Maybe worth finishing that lap off just to get a banker lap, but Object Fungus looking to get back where he wants to be, and he's broken to the 13s, but he's only third. He's just ahead of Nigel. Victor improved, but 6 thousandths behind Reese. So I think Victor's answered the call to try and catch the Haas. But so far, Reese, after the second run of laps, he's going to have provisional pole. But looking at those clouds, it's starting to get a little bit darker around this track. 5 minutes left. Could this be foreshadowing the race, I wonder? Or is that why the likes of Shadows are going out very early for what could be their final run in qualifying?
Well,
is rain scheduled?
It's a good point. It's got very dark all of a sudden, and normally it only does that on this game unless it is going to rain. So I would say that's probably the case. But Silverside Boy is saying that rain is on the way. I don't know if that's because he's in a party with a couple of the tier ones. Maybe Jaff he's in a party with potentially. I know those two normally sit in parties during races, and maybe that's where he's getting the info from. But yeah, I think we're going to have everyone out on track here quite early. Most of them would leave it for like the last couple of minutes, but as you say, we've already got people on outlaps with 4 minutes to go, and AMS Drive there goes across the line in the Williams just behind Ceres. But yeah, once again, no one can beat Reese's time yet. Object Fungus as well, while we were talking there, also went up to 4th for another sub 14, a 13.9. But yeah, I think potentially everyone wants to win the pits. If we're right with what we're seeing here, could be missing out here. I think the laps need to come in now. Bourbon Boy retired.
That's in the pits, so he's not feeling confident. That is a pretty poor start for the Alfa Romeo driver. It just hasn't been their night for getting a lap on the board. But to be fair, Imola is so difficult to get that lap perfect. And so far, Reese and Victor, for that matter, and even AMS Drive, they're the only 3 that you can probably say have had the perfect lap into the 13.8. Slacker lads throwing it through the Variante Alta. And that is an invalidation down in 14th for his collateral lads, and not what he needs at all. Robin going to go for their run, and the driver who I've not talked about much in this field so far, but don't expect a bad performance out of them. They know what to do on their night and on their day, and so far going to make it their day to shine, albeit in a bit of a dull Imola. And that is rain that was scheduled after all. So this is now crunch time for Robin. Can he get this lap on the board before it gets too damp?
Well, I mean, I would have thought that's it. I mean, it's just even a little bit of rain. The margins are so tight in quali. I reckon that's it personally. He's up by a tenth. We're going to see how much that rain's going to affect the drivers through this last sector. So here comes Rob, and he's got a bit of traffic in front of him with the Ferrari of Shaggy, who's on an outlap, who should hopefully get out the way or keep going, which is going to keep going. But remember, he was a tenth up. Has the rain affected him? And it has. He's in the pits. And I don't think we're going to see any improvements here. It's most likely going to be the grid now as we see it, Cruiser.
Never say never, though, because Nigel is down by a tenth and a half. I fear people have left this too late. There was Victor trying to go for one final run. Reese has backed off. So can Serres match his time and go faster as the rain begins to fall around Imola? Can he find 6,000ths of a second? Or is it just not going to be for the Mercedes? We know what he can do as well, but that is deep thrown through Villeneuve, and he's not going to improve. AMS Drive's going to go out again, but I don't think he'd even get round the track. Objects on an outlap, and Nigel is continuing on and continuing off. That is a spin for Nigel. He's now going to be 5th for the race because Robin is not going to improve. Raza's not going to improve. Henk is trying to improve, but I don't think they're going to improve enough. They've backed off, and I fear that is it. So Reese, even before the final runs in qualifying, with 5 minutes left to spare, is going to take the maiden pole position of the season.
Well, absolutely fantastic from him. I'll have to be honest, no offence to him, I would not have said him for pole position, but he's proved everyone wrong there. Fantastic lap from Reese. Puts him on pole position for Haas. While you were speaking then, Cruiser, FRC Billy tried to get a time on the board, and I think even with the rain he would have potentially had enough pace to maybe get in front of the guys in the 15s, but sadly for himself invalidated. So he will be starting at the back. We thought Bourbon Boy might be, but no, it's actually going to be Billy right at the back through that invalidation. But no, your top three, Reese, Serres and AMS Drive. Now it's down to race pace. And we know what AMS Drive, and especially as well that bit of Manning P4, Object Fungus, are like in the races. I do think we're in for a cracking one. It all depends as well. What could spice it up? Is this rain going to continue into the race or not? We'll have to wait and see.
That I think we will. So we'll just wait for everyone to enter the pits. And I think Object's just making his way around to the pit lane now. So, judging by that top 10, that's certainly one that I wouldn't have thought. Object in 4th, Drive in 3rd, Serres is 2nd, and Reese takes the pole position by 6,000ths of a second to Victor. AMS Drive half a tenth behind, Object 2/10 behind, but that midfield, much like Tier 2 last season, is looking to be quite close. Shady did get a lap time on the board on mediums. Bourbon Boy and Billy, the only two yet. Or rather, the only two who didn't get a lap time on the board. But, say this, do not count out anyone in the top 10 for victory. They all have potential to do it, and even at that, we're still on for what could be a very interesting race. Because if rain is scheduled, Collateral Ads, Shadows, Nox, they could be running a higher downforce setup. So, let's see what the race has in store for us on this fine Friday night. As the countdown ends, and the race is going to begin in just a few minutes' time. By the way, Diamond, I've completely scammed you out of your drink, and that is a lot more than a few drops of rain.
Well, this is going to be very exciting start. That looks like full wet. You can see the puddles in the pit lane. That's more than, like you say, just a few drops. This is going to be down to who is the best in the wet, best at controlling that car around a track where, yeah, some of the corners, especially the very anti-outer, that chicane and the Acqua Minerale as well, very difficult to control in these wet conditions. So yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one. Interesting to see in the chat. We've got Shadow saying that his lap would have put him in the top 10, but he had a massive slide, final corner invalidated. So that lap would have been in the middle 14s, 14.5, 14.6. It was going to put him top 10. So unlucky for him.
Now I know I shouldn't be saying this on the stream, but rather two things. One thing I should say is all of our races are streamed on twitch.tv/FP Racing League. And if you guys want to join, we're right off the bat for Season 7. Nightbot drops a link to our recruitment server or type !F1 in their Twitch chat. You'll get a link to a recruitment server, complete the steps, and much like Knox actually today, I say today, on this Friday, join the grid and get ready for the race. But looking in the chat, I'm noticing that there is very, very severe weather conditions on the way. And
Yeah.
Knox in the chat, I don't think it's that severe, but it's gonna be a severe aquaplaning risk. So keep an eye out on that for the race. We might actually be seeing aquaplaning for the first time in a virtual lead race.
Well, do you know what? No, I'm not gonna give away the tyres. Obviously, it's one or two.
I mean, to be honest, I don't think you need to spoil the tyre selection. I think it's pretty obvious what ones they'll be going for.
Well,
And
that's the thing. You'd think it'd be wets. It looks like it'd be inters, according to the race director. There is a couple that are switching to wets, so we could have here at the start of the race two different sets of wet tyres being used, which should make it extremely interesting to see who's got the better pace, if that is the case. Albeit there's not a lot of people that are opting for wets as it looks at the moment, but that could definitely be an interesting start to the race, definitely. There they are saying, like you said, that there's going to be very severe rain in the middle of the race. Willy bum, they will now have to switch to boats.
I think my big concern is everyone that's on top of the pit garages without an umbrella or even a what is that, something poncho. Without one of them, they are going to get absolutely soaked watching this race. If someone can at least get them a zipper, so they don't get overly drowned, then that would be really great. But Fishsticks saying this might be the first time we have a red flag for monsoon conditions. That's how severe this race is going to get. And Shadows is saying that this race would have been what we had in the 2023 season, where we drove literally in a river. I mean, you're not wrong. And Gary's also mentioned, aka Silverside Boy, mentions that he's lost his hat. That's not ideal.
He's lost his hat. Bloody hell, Gary.
I mean, if it was a Red Bull cap, I don't think he'd be worrying too much about it. Unfortunately, that's who he's driving for this season. Says me with the Ferraris, so expect a strategy blunder within the next 3 races.
Oh well, we got a few more minutes, I think, or not long till we start. There was a question in the chat while we were obviously in queue in the qualifying about Lewis Hamilton going to Ferrari. I just want to get your thoughts on it, Cruiser. What you think about it? I think it's just
it's a risk.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. Is a very big risk for both parties to have that contract. Because if it doesn't work for Hamilton, he's got nowhere to go. And if Mercedes turn up with a rocket ship, then he doesn't know what he signed up for.
Well, this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking he's going to do it for one season. If it's a boat, then he'll just retire. But, I mean, if he was to win his 8th in the Ferrari, that would be something.
No. A bit of poetry for that matter, and oh my goodness, people. Right, this is a sign of bravery, stupidity, or they just didn't get to change their setups. Because I see 7 drivers on intermediate tyres.
Wow.
Victor, Drive, and Object are on inters. Robin and Raza are on inters. Jaff's on the inters. 6 drivers in the top 10 are on inters, and Knox is the only one who is on inters outside of the top 10 and 13th. Everyone else is on wets. This is going to be a very treacherous start.
Well, for me, the guys in the bottom half have probably just thought, we're in the bottom half, and if we can keep the gap with the Inters at the start, the Inter guys will have to pit and we'll have a free pit stop on them. That's probably their their mindset. The guys at the front, obviously the game is chosen originally for them to go on the Inters. So they're probably thinking they're at the front. Can they pull a gap enough to then pit for wets when it gets worse and then have fresher wets to go on with? So I think personally, it looks very wet. I think we could see Reese here going off into the distance, but we're going to have to wait and see, and we'll be able to see that quite clearly as well by how well they get off the line. Hey there, Cruiser.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just wondering who's made the blunder and who's been brave. It's time to go boat racing in the rain and downpour of Imola. Season 7 is underway for Tier 1, and it looks as though Reese has had a pretty strong start. Yes, a bit of wheel spin though. Victor is going to draw alongside in towards the Tamburello chicane. We're going to be 3 wide up at the front. Reese holding it around the outside. AMS Drive trying to challenge, and there's a car in the Bravo there, and that looks like an Aston Martin of Robin, who's had a very poor start. Down now towards the back of the pack, but Reese, Victor, Drive, Nigel's got ahead of Object, Raza, Phenom's had a good start up to 7th, Henkes, Junivane and Collateral Ads making places off at the start now. Julian with each other for 9th place. Collateral Ads goes wide though at the exit of the Villeneuve chicane, having to defend from Jaff Master, who gets ahead of them. Junivane on the wet tyres, Jaff on the inters, and he hasn't made as many inroads as he thought he would have. But Phenom's had a really strong start. Raza's up to 6th, and the top 3 starting to break away now from Nigel Piddle, who's now holding station in 4th.
Yeah, at the moment it looks like the tyres are very much even. No one's really pulling away from anyone. As we see at the front, Reese is only 4 tenths ahead of Ceres, but Ceres is not all over him at the same time. So I think at the moment, the wet runners have probably made the call here, because it's only going to get worse and the Inters will eventually have to come in and box. There's been no major crashes on that opening lap, which is very impressive to see in these conditions. As you've got Ceres and Drive fighting for the 2nd place, but Ceres keeps on to it for now. But yeah, like I was just saying, no major incidents on that first lap. Everyone's got through quite cleanly. As I say that, Shaggy is off in the gravel trap and Billy is round. I don't think any debris has come off though, or any damage. I think they'll just carry on. As we see, once again, going back to the front, Reese now a 2nd lead, and I think this may be... Oh, he's gone wide though, he's gone wide, and that will let Ceres back in, but Drive's also on the outside now, and he's trying to hold it together as we now come up to... This is fantastic racing into Toza. These 2 drivers side by side, fantastic racing, both on the Inters. Ceres has already got a time penalty as well, which is very early on. And we're coming up to Piratella now, and Drive has to eventually back off, but what racing this is. Reese now back up to 1.1 seconds in front. It's difficult to say what's the better tyres at the moment. I would still say they're exactly the same, Cruiser.
I think the best bet for you right now, Monkey Boy Kurt, is to have a breather, because that has been a full lap of this track, and Victor and the MS Drive are still no further apart than they were, but Reese has gone wide there at the Variante Alta exit, doing what Ceres done in the opening lap. Now it's going to open the space here for the Mercedes to go down the inside at the first of the Ravats, is braking evenly with the Haas, forcing them a bit wider. It's still level pegging. Reese on the gravel again. Victor goes through to take the lead, but on that penalty, as Reese goes wide again at the exit of the Variante, not quite the Variante Altas, but he's went wide at the Variante Alta and both of the Ravazes. Now he's down to 6th place. That is a domino downfall for the Haas. He's now at the back of this train, which now Victor leads. AMS Drive in 2nd. Nigel now looking behind them to defend against Object Fungus, the Tier 2 champion against the double Tier 1 champion. A fight that most of us were actually completely forgot about. Went under the radar, but they're making it known tonight as there's been a crash up at the chicane at Tamburello, and it's Henkes who's gone off into the wall, and it looks as though Jaff Mass has been pointed. The how do I say it, has been gave a 5-second penalty, because it looks as though he was the one that took out the Williams. Can't fully judge though, because it's Codemasters, as both of them are without a front wing, so it looks as though they both suffered from the same downfall. But a virtual safety car for us to catch our breath at Imola and breathe. like I said to you, we definitely need to catch our breath. But another thing as well, Victor and Drive have actually underfueled as we get back underway. A very brief virtual safety car. But Drive and Victor have underfueled for this race, so has Nigel. Object hasn't. However, for the tyres among the top 6, Nigel's the only one, well, both of the Haas's are the only ones on wets. Everyone else is on inters. So now I think it's more about for Victor and Drive, Object and Raza to get ahead of Nigel, and for the case of the top 2, run away as far as you can until Nigel can't see them in amongst the doom, gloom, fog and spray. But that's the only thing that Object Fungus is seeing right now. Through his visor is the mist and spray off the back of that Haas. He peels to the outside looking for the overtake, but Nigel covers off the inside and is now going to take the racing line as normal and defends once again from Object. So difficult to overtake around here, and without DRS it makes it a whole other level of impossible, one might say. But Object, we know what he can do, and he's proven it 2 times before. He can win in Tier 1, but he's going to have to pull out quite a few tricks here to get ahead of Nigel in a very stern defence from the Haas.
Yeah, interesting to
but
see.
I'm going to cut in again, but he's drawn wide at Tosa. I say a stern defence, and it's been unravelled literally within half a second of me mentioning and praising Nigel. And much like his nightmares, he's seen a Ferrari and is now ahead of him and running away into the distance. Much like the Mercedes and Williams right now, Nigel and Reese slowly starting to fall back through the field. And is it really time for wets?
Well, you say that, Cruiser. We've just had Ads, Shadows, Henkers and Jaff all in the pits. They've all gone on to fresh inters. So that really makes this tyre debate even more one to figure out. And they've said on... Oh, and Shaggy's out!
Oh, Shaggy's gone! Let's see where he is. Ah, that looks like oversteer. Oversteer, wheel spin, whatever you want to call it. It's game over. Oh, Robin's gone as well! I did mention aquaplaning, and that looks like aquaplaning on inters. Robin, that is a major surprise. We've lost 2 cars within the space of 20 seconds, a safety car, but Reese is pitting for inters.
Well, look at this now. The safety car has picked up the top 5, the top 6, I should say, which means that Reese is now going to be on fresh tyres. But I mean, they all seem to go on inters. This is the thing here. And like I was just about to say, if they're saying it's going to get even worse towards the middle of the race, I don't know here. I mean, it's a difficult one to say. But I would have thought that most of them would have just pitted there to get on some fresh tyres. But obviously, the guys at the front don't want to. No one's going for wets though, and it's only going to be a matter of time before wet tyres, if the forecast is correct, which it normally is, it's going to come into effect. So, yeah, Nigel stayed out on wets, Phenom stayed out on wets, Billy stayed out on wets. You know, there is a few people that still think that wets isn't too bad a tyre here, so we'll have to see what they do on the restart.
Now, I mentioned though, Knox and Billy have had really good starts to this race. They've kept the nose clean, and up 7 places for Knox, up 10 places for Billy. Doing what he can, as Reese is now down in 9th, making that pit stop. But looking in the chat as well, Robin's actually said they had contact with Junu Vane, and that is how he ended up in the barriers. So I don't think it was aquaplaning from the Aston, but still, it's not ideal for Robin. Our runner-up in last season's championship is Nigel pitting behind the safety car, and he was running up in 4th and up in top 5 since the start of this race, and he's going to pit for what is that? That is a set of fresh wets.
Well, this gets even more tricky, this does. This is fantastic.
So Nigel, again, trying to play like a wild card or the odd one out among the group, but Bourbon Boys in the pits as well. So let's have a look at what they're doing. They've already pitted in this race and did pit for fresh wets, and they are gonna go for inters. Oh goodness, you don't want to be a betting man on this race. I tell you that for absolutely nothing. Oh, David's actually mentioned that Inter tyre wear is AWFUL, or awful in caps lock. As... Oh, hold on. Nigel said in the chat that that wasn't him that pitted, that was his AI.
Oh, that's convenient.
Well. Good.
I mean, would your AI pick you for fresh wets after 4 laps?
Obviously, obviously it did.
I mean, that's just...
Oh, if it's going to get heavier.
Oh, someone's lost some front wing.
Oh, dear.
I'm trying to see who it is.
Who was it? It was someone.
I think it was like maybe Ads or one of the Red Bulls. We'll see as they come down the...
I think it was Ads. On the front left end plate, is that missing?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah,
it is missing. It was Ads. Oh dear, Genevain's been in the wars with this race. First with Robin and now with Collateral Ads. The field just bunched up, going in towards the chicane, and I think Collateral Ads expected it. It's like, I don't think you can really blame him for that, to be honest, but regardless, Genevain has been in for a bit of a war zone this race. Still going strong though in 9th. And his teammates in the points as well in 10th. So now the top 7 haven't pitted under a safety car on lap 7 of this race. But I'm noticing as well, Victor, Drive, Objects, Fuel is starting to balance. He's starting to balance out now, but Drive and Victor are still on a yellow fuel light, so they'll need a lot more something lift and coast, or someone to regenerate their car with fuel. Nox, Raza, Phenom and Billy haven't made their pit stops either. Phenom and Billy are on wet, everyone else ahead of them on older intermediate tyres. So Ads and Nigel's came back into the pits for a set of inters. So it looks as though he doesn't trust his AI, which, to be fair, I don't blame him. But it's going to be a long road to recovery now for Nigel.
Yeah, and we're going to now see, well, definitely we're going to see Phenom and Billy here could potentially start making a train, or they could potentially go straight to the front. But I don't really think that rain's got any more harder than what it was at the start of the race. So I think we're going to see them maybe hold the pack up, as now the majority have gone to Inters, as the safety car is going to be in this lap, and Ceres will back the pack up. Ceres from Drive, from Fungus, and then, like you say, Raza Gamer up in 4th, having a great start to this race, but he hasn't boxed for new tyres, but he'll be trying to stay with that fast front 3.
Now we just wait. When will Victor decide to pull the trigger? And I think he's going to go midway around the Ravatsas, and indeed he is. He's gone. Backed them up though. He's backed them up a little bit though at the second Ravatsa, which is a little bit naughty there from Victor. But he don't just cause anyone any problems as Crusadoro's doing his own laps, chasing his tail right in front of me. Irrelevant information, but Victor, Ceres, Object, Raza, Nox, Phenom, Billy, Reese, Genevain and Midfield Maestro the top 10 as we get back underway at Imola. Lap 8 of a damp, horrible race as AMS Drive is got the curb, he's gone wide, and that's now forced him into the clutches of his old rival, and he's out of the race! Oh no!
And we've got another safety car straight after the other one.
Doom,
so
gloom,
unlucky
disaster.
for Drive.
Doom, gloom and disaster for AMS Drive. That is not what he needed to start this championship off. And no sooner as the safety car went in the pits, it's now going to head right back out again. No, that...
Oh, Ceres, oh my God, no! Oh, that's bottle job. I'm sorry. That is bottle job.
Oh my God. What is going on? What is going on? You know I mentioned about aquaplaning?
I mean, come on, lads. Talk about giving Fungus the lead.
I mean, what somehow, some way, it's like a party piece for Object Fungus. He always finds a way.
Oh, I think your microphone might have disconnected there, maybe, Cruiser?
I'm in disbelief. I'm in disbelief. In the space of a lap on the safety car restart, we have lost the leader and second place driver.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Reese now finds himself back up in third position. And loads of people in the pits again. Going on fresh inters again. Now, Phenom in, Billy in, Jaff's in again. Ads is in again.
They're all running inters.
Yeah.
To be fair, actually, there's look like inter conditions now. Oh no, Ad has been the oddball. He's went wets.
Well, he's at the back. You've got nothing to lose, I guess. Well, I mean, I keep saying it. They were saying in the chat that midway through this race they were going to get thunder and lightning. So obviously, the heaviest rain possible. And we've had 2 safety cars now. So surely that time's going to come soon where that hard rain's going to come. So collateral ads here might be potentially slower to start with, but it's worth the gamble. I rate it. He's at the back. Why not?
Oh man. Well, we've only had 9 laps of the Tier 1 opening race, and it's already been unexpected. But I suppose that is one thing you love. No 2 races are the same, and you cannot script a league race whatsoever. But one thing that has to be in every script is Object Fungus leading the way, granted under a safety car in the most bizarre and random circumstances. To Raza Gamer in second. Reese now is up in third and has actually made his pit stop, but he'll probably need to pit again because he's not getting intermediate tyres a total of 28 laps. He could try, but I don't think he is. Junivane, Midfield Maestro, Shadows, Henke's, Bourbon Boy Nigel and Nox Desire up in 10th. So a debut to remember so far for Nox, but I think one to forget really for Shaggy, who we lost right at the start of the race, as Shadows is in the pits from what was 6th place in this race. That's now going to promote everyone else up 1, because that's how it works. What is Shadows going to do though? We'll jump to the Alpine camp and it's enters again. So everyone seems persistent on staying on intermediate tyres.
Yeah. Don't know if I would have done that. Shadows. If he was going for wets, then fair enough. But he was up in 6th. Yeah, I mean, everyone else in front of him now was also on fresh tyres, so he's going to find it hard to get through the field. I think I would have taken my track position, but if it's going to be quicker like that, then fair enough. Fungus and Raza, as we've said, the only 2 drivers that haven't pitted yet at all in this race, still at the front on those 9-lap hold inters. They might be holding out until the heavier weather comes. But out of the 4 that have gone out, I mean, it's definitely Ceres and Drive. You would have put bets on one of those 2 to potentially win this race. Both out of it. And now we see, like I say, Object Fungus at the front. I still think this is in the hands of Reese, though. He's on those fresher tyres. And I think he'll be trying to make a move on Raza as soon as we get going again, providing there's no more safety cars when we get going again.
And notice as well that Object's fuel is actually bang on 0.0. It is flashing between yellow and 0. So fuel management might be on the minds of the Ferrari, but Raza is actually in a fairly similar boat, and he's doing a Verstappen-esque band, I say band, style of restart, just letting Object Fungus know he's there, appealing to go alongside him. But got to be careful, and he's got to get his reaction times absolutely spot on here if he wants to stick to the back of that Ferrari, which not many are able to do because it's Object Fungus in a Ferrari. But we're going to go around the Ravazza for a second time, and Object Fungus pulls the trigger, and away we go. Look at how much wheel spin Raza's getting. He's getting it in 5th gear as we get back underway to start the race. Lap number 11, Object Raza, Reese in.
Here comes Raza.
He's made his pit stop in Raza down towards Tamburello Chicane around the outside, and the former Tier 2 man makes the statement against the Tier 1 driver, but he goes wide. The Tier 2 making a statement, but Object Fungus with the wiser call just to go for a cutback on the exit and restores his lead. Reese now in second, Junivane and Raza up in fourth, but he's not lost too much time and is now ahead of midfield Maestro. But Object Fungus, that was wisdom there from our Tier 1 champion, knowing exactly how to handle in this sort of scenario. But now Reese is back in familiar territory to him, and that is in the fight for victory, whereas Object Fungus leading the way, Junivane in third, Raza, Maestro, Henkes, Bourbon Boy, Nigel, Knox and Phenom, the top 10. 14 drivers remain in this race, and I think importantly as well for the field, Collateral Ads has not lost too much ground to this train. He's just behind Shadows by half a second, but then again in 14th, as the field is going to start to separate a little bit as the field spread is present and battles resume. But Reese right behind Object Fungus, and I think he's going to maybe think about a move at turn 1 as Object drifting it through the final few corners and drifting it out of the exit. Reese now drain that battery, has an incentive, he's going to look for a chance as there's Collateral Ads with another time penalty. I say another time penalty, it's his first penalty of the race, and Reese makes Object pay the penalty for those oversteer moments. Drifting doesn't get you points in the race, it gets you style points, but Reese passing them with the greatest of ease and takes the lead once again of our Tier 1 Emilia Romagna Grand Prix.
Yeah, this is fantastic racing from all the guys, to be fair. We've got battles going up and down the field. Nigel Pickle and Bourbon Boy having a great battle for P7. You've then just had Henkers overtake midfield Maestro around the outside of turn 1 as well, up into P5. It looks like Fungus is now dropping off Reese, and I think Reese with those fresher tyres will now start to pull away. Can Junivane now try and get up into the P2 spot? That is the question. And Collateral Ads, yeah, it does look like those wet tyres are still slightly slower tyre. He's not losing a lot of time, as to be said, but he is maybe about a couple of seconds behind FRC Billy, who is the car in front of him. But other than that, everyone else is quite close. There's a couple of battles. Once again, Bourbon Boy and Nigel as well. Once again, at the Barry and Cialta going side by side. You don't normally go side by side there. But they just about made it work here, and will we see potential...
Knox is drifting! How did he not hit Bourbon Boy?
I literally saw that in Bourbon Boy's mirror, and that was very close indeed.
Great control that from the debutant. That was very close to tears and disaster for the Alfa Romeo team, but as well, there was Henkes making a move on Raza in towards turn 1, and Henkes up now into 4th. I believe actually his best result of the season, as it's tears for the Alfa Romeos. He avoided tears just 3 corners ago, and I think it was a sight moment for Bourbon Boy, and unfortunately both of them played chicken and none of them backed out, so they're now out of the points. As it was Billy down the inside of Shadows at Tulsa. It's a move that you can make possible, but Shadows looking for the cutback on the exit. It's going to have a drag race now up towards Piratella. Who's going to get ahead? It's Billy, and Shadows is still side by side going through Piratella. It's Billy who holds it around the outside, and Shadows just drops back. Billy now up in 9th, and Jaffmaster as well, making one of the overtakes of the race on the previous lap, getting ahead of, I believe it was Phenom, who actually has made a pit stop onto another set of inters, but Jaffmaster around the outside at Piratella, brave and brilliant from the McLaren on his own little charge now, right behind an old acquaintance of his, that being Nigel Piggle. Nigel denying Jaff a few victories last season in Tier 2, both of them making a step up, but it seems as though even in a new division, they just can't be separated. I don't know if this is a love or a hatred between the pair of them, or just good old-fashioned racing, but who cares, I am all for it if these two continue. Maestro, though, is in a little bit of trouble, having to defend from Nigel in towards turn 1. Nigel getting that battery, looking down the inside, braking late. To the inside goes the Haas, and on board with Nigel Piggle. He's up to 6th place, and now Jaffmaster looking for an immediate response to get ahead of the Red Bull. He's not going to get that immediate response, but Nigel now has got a little bit of clear track ahead of him, and is now set to chase off after Raza Gamer.
Yeah, brave move there from Nigel. I didn't know if he was going to go for it so late into turn one, but he's got the brakes on and made it stick. And yeah, I think Razza now is definitely losing some grip, especially with 13-lap-old tyres now. I think Nigel will probably have him in this next lap or so. I just wanted to point out as well, Radical definitely cursed his team there. Alpine's keeping it steady, come on lads. And then straight after we saw Shadows get a 3-second penalty and Phenom come into the pits and go right down to 14. So as we say, Nigel going up the inside of Razza, Variantialta, and look at that, the switchback is on. Is he going to be able to do it? You bet you everything that he is. But here comes Midfield Maestro as well. Is it going to be 2 overtakes on Razza Gamer in one corner? It is. And Maestro now on Nigel. They've made contact, but Nigel manages to keep the car straight. And I think now, yeah, he's gone a bit wide as Midfield Maestro. Nigel should now get away in P5, but look at this battle now. We've got P6, P7, P8 and P9 getting on the act now towards turn one. This could be 3 wide here between Jaff, Maestro and Razza. Jaff's actually now gone through into 6th place. Fantastic racing from these tier ones.
And Billy getting the move done on Razza, whose tyres I think are just starting to give up on him. Razza, who was at one stage 5th, is now 9th. That's one way of having a 9.25, but it's more of a 5-9 for Razza Gamer, and he's just going to start falling a lot further down because there's shadows looming large behind the Alpha Tauri. As Billy's been tagged there by Midfield Maestro, he's spun, just about avoids Razza and Shadows. He's now down in 10th as the McLaren, but Razza, he's going to be limping at this stage and has to make a pit stop soon just to get on some fresh tyres. But Jaff now has surprisingly not lost too much time to Nigel. He's only 1.4 behind the Haas. But the top 5, and actually the top 8, all starting to stagnate a little bit and just stretch their legs. As Reese he's now 3 seconds ahead of Object Fungus. Junivane 1.5 behind the Ferrari. Henke's in no man's land in 4th. Then it's Nigel, Jaff, Maestro, Razza, Shadows and Billy, the top 10. As we have finally approached half race distance. We're on lap 16 right about now for the Haas. 2.9 seconds ahead of the Ferrari. But there's still pit stops on the way, so that whatever this order is right now is far from the final results.
Yeah, Razza still choosing not to box. We're at half race distance now, like you said. He's still not coming. Shadows now goes straight past him for P8, and he's just gonna drop back now. Is Razza? Fungus got a little bit more pace in him, and he's managing to keep 2nd place, but I mean, Junuvane's just slowly getting closer and closer to the Ferrari. Reese is slowly creating that lead at the front. The 2 Alfa Romeos made contact a few laps ago. They're starting to catch up with this pack. Obviously fighting a lot. 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. They're only a few seconds behind them as well now. And yeah, half race distance. Really, we should, you know, like I've said lots of times this race, we're starting to see that heavier rain. It's not here yet. So, interesting to see if it will actually even come at all.
Yeah, Silver Say Boy in a Twitch chat poking a little bit of fun at me, saying I've got a bedtime. I'm not that young. I am a man. Fridays and Saturdays don't count for bedtimes. I need to be in my bed though by 11 o'clock for work. But anyway, one driver who has got a lot of work to do for that matter. Oh, Billy's done wide. He's done almost done what Charles Leclerc did a few years back. Not quite paying homage, but it's not quite idolising your heroes. You don't have to duplicate whatever they do. But Bourbon Boy now goes through back into the points, and Razza, he's still hanging in there against Shadows and Maestro, 2 drivers who are roughly the same, let's say roughly the same pace in these conditions, are Maestro and Shadows, so their fighting could allow Razza just to keep his nose in for a couple of points. And Ads is asked in the chat, is 1872 your birth year? I'd be amazed if it did, to be honest. I'd be the grand age of 152, and I still wouldn't be any wiser than I am now. As Billy's done. He's done what Drive did, just the other way around. He went in the gravel trap and is now drifting again. And I think Billy is just having one of those nights. He's not having any luck. And Ads, I think you should be hoping as well that you shouldn't damage your car too much, because we've got to go to Austria next week, and it's a sprint race.
Yeah, sure to be a fun one, that one next week, if it's as lively and as interesting as this one. Obviously, the weather's played a big part in that. We've got Shadows and Midfield Maestro. Midfield Maestro's dropped back a little bit from Jaff in front of him. These two now fighting for P7. There's another yellow flag, and that's Billy again. Looks like those tyres are overheating. He's going to have to take some time to get them to cool down a bit, and goes through there is Ads and Phenom. Yeah, very, very slightly, and he's almost, oh, he's got lost it again. Yeah, he's got to stop revving it so much. Just try and get those tyres to cool down a little bit. Otherwise he's going to start doing donuts on this wet track. I find it very difficult there to control the car. As I was saying that, yeah, we go up to Shadows again. Midfield Maestro. Shadows has made the move. He has got that time penalty over his name, and he's lost it again, Billy. He's not listening to me. Yeah, not ideal from Billy, but yeah, Reese in still in first, Object second, and looks like he's pulled the gap to Ginny in third actually. Jaff actually looks right on the back of Nigel now.
Got our own little midfield duels right now between Nigel and Jaff, Shadows and Maestro, and Diamond has said that he misses battling with Shadows already. And now that you mention it, I actually miss commentating on those battles, as I think Billy has decided enough is enough and is retired on lap 18 of the Tier 1 Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. It wasn't their night to begin with, and it just slowly degraded throughout. I say rather disintegrated, because we are racing in the wet after all, and water disintegrates paper. The more you know. As Nigel's in the pits. So Jaff was looming large behind the Haas, and this is now Nigel's time to say, I want off these tyres. Maybe another set of inters to get to the end, because that rain has certainly lightened off. So much for a thunderstorm. I think someone was talking about there.
Oh, Jaff's out! Jaff's out!
I think, yeah. Oh, so much for talking out of their rear. Jaff Master has lost it completely. As am I in a minute, because that's now another driver I've jinxed. Good.
Raz has got a box now.
Surely.
I mean, I don't know why he's been holding out so long. I mean, the only thing I can think of is he was maybe holding out for the wet, the harder weather, so then get on wet tyres. But it doesn't seem like it's coming. And like you say, Nigel Piddle's now come in.
I saw in the Twitch chat it was a McLaren friendly fire.
Oh no!
Bell's AI car exiting the pits, and Jaff hit it as it did exit the pits.
Oh, I can't wait to go on Jaff's Streamlab and watch that.
No. Of all things, it was a rogue torpedo friendly fire for Jaff Master. I reiterate again, that man has the worst luck in FPRL.
Yeah, if he's not hitting his teammate's AI car, he's turning off his wheel. It's always something with Jaff.
Well, you say it's always something. It's not ideal, is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, fresh inters going on for everyone, it looks like. So yeah, doesn't look like that rain's going to come then. It's just going to be inters now for the whole race.
Boring. We wanted thunderstorms. And you're not, well, I didn't. I wouldn't want to drive in them, but I'd love to watch people driving them. Anyway, lap 20, and it's Reese who leads them behind the safety car. Object Junuvain now up in third, and this, if Junuvain stays here, this would be a cracking recovery for them, but they are on that 3-second penalty, so Henkes, as it stands, is on a net third. Shadows has found his way up in fifth. Well, tell a lie, he was fifth. Nigel's now back in P5. Shadows, though, is in sixth. Maestro, Raza Gamer, somehow only down one place, but this is what he would have been begging for, is apparently maintaining station, but down one place. I know it's a visual build, but it's annoying me. Anyways, he's 8th, and both of the Alphas who had a bit of friendly fire on their own, and 9th and 10th Clash Lads and Phenom, 11th and 12th of the 12 runners remaining in this race. And so you cross the line at the end of this lap. It'll be 12 laps left. As long as you don't lose 1 car per lap, I'll be very happy.
Yeah, yeah, that would be something that would be very interesting. It'd be a bit like Monaco '96, where only 3 drivers finished the race in the wet conditions. So, I mean, I'm just looking at the position changes, and Shadows is actually the driver up the most. He's up 9 positions from P15 where he started. Bourbon Boy up 8 places. Genevieve and Henkers in 3rd and 4th. They're up 5 each. Fungus up a couple. And also Midfield Meister up 5. Obviously, a few of this is going to be contributed because of the guys that have gone out as well. But some strong races there for some of them. At this point in time, we've still got 12 laps to go. Obviously, I know you're going to ask me that question at the end of the race, driver of the day. It's going to be very difficult to choose one at the moment, but maybe something will happen in these next 12 laps that can make the decision maybe a bit easier.
Well, Bourbon, as you see from the positions gained, Shadows is up 9 places. He started down in 15th for this race. Bourbon Boy is up 8 places, starting on the back row. He's been known for a few recovery drives, has Bourbon Boy, and I think quite recently actually. Last season at Singapore, last to first in a 14-car field, but still regardless, it is possible we could pull something out of the hat tonight as Phenom decide, you know what, I want the freshest tyres you have out of the 7 sets they have already used in this race. But anyway, Reese, I think right now as it stands, the top 2 are your odds on for a win. Henkes and Nigel will want to try and get close to them, but as it stands, that is going to be a fight for 3rd because of Junu's penalties. Shadow's driving a good race, but is on that time penalty himself. Maestro, Raza's on it for a decent strategic call, staying out, weathering it out, if you will, and on fresh tyres. Now a level playing field with everyone else. Bourbon Boy's recovering well. Knox is having a good race. In the points on their debut, Collateral Lads will need something to happen to get in the points, and Phenom as well in that same category. Silverside Boy has redeemed a safety car question, lovely, and Tidjum's redeemed the drink. I'm more excited about the drink, Tidjum, thank you very much. And I guarantee you, Silverside Boy's question is going to be related to either Ferrari, Lewis Hamilton, or something Malaysia Grand Prix, because that's all that's happened in F1. That and Andretti was told to go away. Well, I say go away in the nicest way possible, but it was basically go away in the nicest way possible to the Andretti F1 team. There you go, Tidjum, I had 2. Right. I had 2 drinks just for you. Chin chin.
Oh, Tidjum. Need Monkey's catchphrase. Ooh. Sound like I'm not on commentary that much.
I think that's why you need one.
I know. Just give me a few moments while I think of something.
Well,
I mean, a lot of my catchphrases in parties when I'm racing are a lot of swear words, but
well, I mean,
can't really say they're catchphrases.
well, yours is a swear word. Mine is the more explosive back chat.
Yeah.
And it's not pretty. Silverside Boy's mentioning, what do you think of the Haas livery reveal? I suppose we are in that time of year that everyone reveals their liveries, and honestly, it's good to see a Haas while we still can, because they will be nowhere next season.
Oh, Radical was done collateral ads dirty there in the chat of what he thinks of the Haas livery.
I'm not going to repeat it. But let's just say that Radical isn't satisfied with the Haas livery.
Yeah, he's not satisfied with ads in this race either, it looks like.
Well, I suppose one way he should be happy, because he's the only car. Well, the only car behind him is one of his teammates. Well, tier teammates, or well, actually, tell our constructor teammates, is Phenom. Collateral Ads, they 2 out of the points, and for the 3rd time, we're going to get back underway after a safety car restart, and we'll have 10 laps left in the reign of Emilia Romagna to decide the winner as... Oh no, it's going to disconnect me from the lobby. I do apologise in advance if it does, everyone, but I can only do what I can. As Reese is going to get back underway and hopefully keep it in a straight line for a third time tonight. We're back underway with 10 laps left at Imola. Can Object Fungus make it the way he wants to start this season and be on top of the podium like he has done many a time in FPRL? Or can Reese, even Junivane or Henkes have something to say about that? And even Nigel Powell, don't count him out of the race either. Midfield Maestro holding on to 7th place as we're away we go towards the Villeneuve chicane. It's Reese, Object, Junivane. No changes yet in the order, and everyone's got through relatively tame and clean. No fighting and no worries so far, but Nigel will want to get a move on pretty quickly. He's tucked up behind the rear wing of Henkes, using a bit of that battery to try and look for a move towards Piratella, but he's just going to sit behind at the moment.
Oh, Ginny Vane, another 3-second penalty. That's really going to affect him now. Definitely, I think he's going to be, even if he pulls away a bit from Henk, is going to be out of sight of that last podium spot. But it looks like the front two are slowly starting to pull away from the rest of the pack. Like we've said, while the safety car's out, it looks like it's going to be a 2-horse race now for the win. While we're just watching them go down after the Arante out, I'm just going to check the race director to see what their warnings are in terms of time penalties. So Reese, interestingly, is on 2 warnings, and Object Fungus, unless that warning on lap 1 is for a collision, he is also on 2 warnings. Yeah, that is for a collision on lap 1. So it looks like Fungus on 1 warning, Reese on 2. He's going to have to keep it clean. Does not want to get a 3-second penalty.
So his Object can afford another mistake as Nigel down the inside towards the Villeneuve chicane on Henkes. Henkes shuts the door on him, not letting him through, but Nigel will have the better run at the exit, but Henkes just goes to the inside, then takes the preferred line. Nigel down the inside again at Tulsa. Can he get on the power quick enough? He's going to try to. He's going to get a drag race now between himself and the Williams. In real life, this would be the 2 slowest cars, but Haas and Williams. It's the Haas who overtakes the Williams, and Nigel's now unleashed to hunt down Junivane and maybe something else in this race. He's got 8 laps left to try and pick up a podium, and so far he's got around 4.5 seconds in hand, but equally 4 seconds between himself and Reese. But in general, to be fair, this will be a very strong result for Haas. If they can hold on to this victory, can Reese, and Nigel picks up a podium. Unless it's a 1-2, there'd be no better start for their Constructors campaign.
No, it will be a fantastic start here. TJ Higgles sandbags well and truly out. It looks like it now. Looks like he'll be fighting, like Cruiser just said, for that 3rd spot. Reese is just holding on to the lead as we speak, but then we've now got Razza, Midfield Maestro, Bourbon Boy and Knox all in a queue for 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. It was a lot closer to that before, but it looks like they've all sort of spread out a little bit. Phenom's made the move on collateral ads, and with that penalty, ads have to do a lot of work now to even have a hope of salvaging any points from this race. Midfield Maestro with the 3-second penalty, not what he would have wanted. And Bourbon Boy now will try and make that move as soon as possible. I think he's got a little bit more pace, just getting a bit held up at the moment by the Red Bull driver. Henk is at the moment as well, still holding on to the back of Nigel. Still knows that Ginny Vane has got that penalties in front of him. He'll be trying to get back past for that last podium spot. But I think all the focus is definitely on these front 2. Object Fungus and Reese almost connected, they're so close. But there's no DRS in the wet, so Fungus is definitely going to have to try and get the run out of one of these corners to try and get past.
Seen as well there, Bourbon Boy, a brilliant move there on Midfield Maestro, needing to make the move, and he has made the move. And as it stands for the moment, there's your leader graphic, and there's the time penalties for our drivers. As it stands, Junivane will find himself down in 8th place at the end of this race, which is near enough a disaster for him. If Sharrows can actually tell a lie, if Sharrows, he's bang on 3 seconds behind Junivane. If he can stick within that 3 seconds, he will make up a place.
Sorry, Cruiser, here goes Object Fungus. Oh, he's not quite got alongside enough, but he did a look. He definitely had a look there.
Knock, knock. It's Object at the door, and Reese, I think he's putting his whole body weight behind that door to keep it shut. Kind of like the Shining right now. Object Fungus looming large, trying to break that door down, but Reese is just barricading himself in first place, doing everything he can. He's can throw the whole kitchen sink at him if he wants to try and keep him behind. But Reese, he's going to be feeling the pressure now. The two-time champion of FPRL right behind him, and he's not letting that pressure get any lower or less. But Reese holding on to his battery, so I'm thinking here he knows what he's ideally wanting to do is just floor it and get a good exit out of the second Ravazza and just pull away, get enough of a gap to Object, who's using his battery. He's on 78%. Reese is on 95%. So Reese is just going to store his battery until the final few laps and then fully undrain it, as you see there, draining it out of the second Ravazza just to get that gap to Object and try and build that gap. But Object draining that battery, now 65%. Reese having to defend a little bit in towards the Zamparello chicane, and he does so once again. And this is where the disadvantage for Object of not having DRS is really starting to pay here. But the top two in a league of their own tonight, and they are firmly putting on a show for our opening night. And if this is what it's going to be for the season ahead, Object versus Reese, I for one am going to be very, very happy with what they have to offer for the next 16 races.
Yeah, I definitely think there would have been a few other drivers in this battle if they not had gone out. I think Ceres and AMS Drive would have definitely put a fight up with these two. It could have been a four-way battle potentially. But obviously we know what happened to them earlier on in the race. He's still just so close to him, Object Fungus. He's just waiting for that opportunity where Reese is going to go a little bit wide, or he's going to have a little bit of wheel spin, and then he's just going to pounce on it and just try and get that lead. He's only got 4 laps now after we go past the start finish straight to do it in. It's getting so close, but it's just so risky to really take a dive as well in these conditions. In the dry, he might have decided to maybe throw it up the inside, but it is quite difficult. But he is closer than ever before, it looks like now, and I think he's not even getting the slipstream. And Reese might have slightly, just a little bit lower wings, which is just helping him out here.
Just enough to get the power down and the traction down out of the second of the Ravazzas, and it's just keeping that gap at around 3/10. Granted, it's not much, but it's more than enough right now for Reese, who's just all he's got to do is just keep it facing forwards. We have 5 laps left at Imola, and the top two running away. Reese and Object, it's been like that for pretty much most of the race. Junuvane, all things considered, granted on 6 seconds of penalties, he's going to finish in third unless Nigel does overtake him there. But Junuvane, this will do him good for the remainder of the season, knowing he's capable of getting a podium result, but the penalties are not kind to him tonight, and Nigel right now is just building that gap to Henkes and ensuring that he is in line for a podium, and his first podium in Tier 1 this season. Obviously it's the first race, which is it would be his first podium because it's the first race. It's known fact. Henkes though in 5th, going to be a net 4th there as Bourbon Boy looking for another move there in towards the Variante Alta against Raza Gamer. Now getting the cutback against the Alpha
fantastic
Tauri.
move.
That is very slowly becoming his forte as Bourbon Boy. That's almost like an unexpected move that he can just pull on everyone. He's done it there to Phenom, he's done it to Midfield Maestro, and now he's done it to Raza Gamer. Now what can he offer? Because if he can get ahead of Shadows, he's more than capable of getting up into the top 5 with Junuvane's penalties.
Yeah, he's definitely fighting back well. That was a fantastic move. I thought he was going to throw up the inside, which he did, but then decided to just lay off that throttle a bit and get the switch back, and that worked fantastically for him. At this point in time, he is going to go up to P5, like we say, with the penalties in front. If he can try even push on now and try and get Partenkers, it'll be a P4 for Bourbon Boy. From where he started will be absolutely fantastic. But I mean, I'm just going to bring up the gap now between 2nd and 3rd, and yeah, those two have pulled almost 8 seconds on the guys behind them. So they're in a league of their own at the moment in these wet conditions. Loving it out there, even though it looks horrible.
Object's made a mistake, and that is it. And that, I think, answers the question of the other warning. It was not a collision warning. that is now Reese firmly in control now. And one small mistake for Object Fungus, that could have properly decided this race. Reese, 3 laps left to go, has an 0.8 of a second lead and has a 3-second penalty advantage as well.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the race director, and he's not got an exceeding track limits warning there as Object Fungus. He's got a straight corner cut-in penalty, so it looks like it's just almost leapfrogged, potentially, because I can't see another warning unless he's got 2 on the same lap. Yeah, it doesn't look like he's got 3 warnings for extending track limits. It's just 1 for Nigel Piggle, a collision on the first lap, and then just those 2. So maybe he's got that just straight away, which will probably appeal if that is the case.
As it stands though, he's going to have to try and catch up to Reese. He's got 50% battery as Object, but Reese is on 95. He's just making sure he has that gap where he needs it and when he needs it. Just using that a little bit more battery just to grow that gap down towards the Variante Alta, but time's running out for Object Fungus, and he knows that he's actually got a really good launch here out of the Variante Alta. He's going to use that battery. This might be, realistically, his final chance. He's looking for it at the Ravazzas. He's just not close enough, though. And now Reese is going to just coast, back him up, and then full power. But Object drifting again out of the final corner. He's not getting close enough, but using whatever he has left, scraplings of that battery, trying to charge up and overtake. He's within 0.2 of a second, within 1/10 of a second. Reese having to defend to the inside. Object trying to make it awkward for him, forces Reese a little bit tighter, but Reese holds on. And was that Object's last chance? But he's got a fantastic launch out of Tamburello in towards Villeneuve, and Reese holds on once again because of that battery advantage. Now, was that Object's final chance to take the lead of the race?
Oh, well, that was fantastic. I thought Object had it then. He got the drive, didn't he? And then, like you say, the battery advantage for Reese just made it so he could stay ahead. Oh, and he's hit the curb again, Fungus, and he's just dropped a little bit further back, which he doesn't want. He's only got a lap left now. Diamond in the chat is saying that, yeah, if you go straight on at that chicane, it will give you a straight penalty. So I can see Fungus potentially appealing that, if that is the case, because if he makes a move on this final lap and then gets obviously that penalty taken away, he will be the race winner. But we've got one more lap to go then, as we just approach it now, the final few corners, and this is probably going to be one of Fungus's last chances to try and get into the lead, and I don't think he's quite got the run, but like we say, he won't have the battery either, and we'll see now Reese just pull away a little bit more. And yeah, I think unless there's any major mistakes made on this final lap, I think Reese will take this race win. And it has to be said, these 2 in this final stages have been heaps and bounds above the rest in terms of pace.
No question about that. They have over 10 seconds now back to third place Junuvane, who in his own right has drove a fantastic race to recover from qualifying. Nigel in 4th. Henke's Bourbon Boy Shadows picked up another penalty, so that might be a disaster for him, dropping him out of the points. Raza, Knox looking like they're going to score points on their debut in what I would imagine is 8th place. And Phenom going to pick up points as well, maybe try and prop up his teammate to stay in the top 10. So double points for the Alpine team, double points for the Alfa Romeo team, double points for Haas. And I think one driver who's made more than a point made a statement tonight to Object Fungus, who's almost been spun there. He's got tagged by the Ferrari, but Reese has held his nerve, and that statement he's made is, I don't care if you're a 2-time champion, I don't care if you run the roost in Tier 1, I don't care if you sit on your throne and rule supreme in Tier 1, I am here to chase after that crown, I want that title, but it's Reese who wins the opening night in Imola. That is a statement performance from the Haas driver, and it's Object Fungus who takes 2nd place for the Ferrari team. Not quite the Cinderella return, but if not a disaster either, to be fair, for the Ferrari. He will try and rescind that penalty, but it will be in vain. Junuvane ended up in 3rd, but will take 6th place on penalties. Nigel will complete the double podium for the Haas team. Henke's Bourbon Boy from 17th to 5th. Genovane will take 6th. Raza Knox on their debut takes 8th. And double points for the Alpine team after all. Phenom beats Shadows, and it's Maestro and Collateral adds the top 12 and the final 12 to see the checkered flag.
Yeah, that was a fantastic race. It has to be said. The weather really at the start, the different tyres that people were on really made it for good viewing. There was a couple of surprise crashes. We obviously saw AMS drive, and even more surprisingly, losing it on his own, Ceres, who definitely had the pace, like I already said, to match the guys at the front today. But Reese definitely held his own. He upped it a level, I have to say. I didn't really see, he's a quick driver. I've never really seen that from him last season. He's definitely upped it today and fully deserves that win. He's got the fastest lap. He's got pole position. I don't think anyone can say that he doesn't deserve the race win today. And a little shout out as well to Bourbon Boy, up from 17th to 5th. Fought his way through the field, got no penalties. And yeah, fantastic result. And like we've also said as well on his debut, Knox in P8 up from 13th. Another good race for him, getting points along with Alfa Romeo's Bourbon Boy. So a double points finish for them as well. And yeah, other than that, Cruiser, just another great race to watch.
That it was. And for opening night in Tier 1, it wasn't quite what we expected. But Reese will not have any complaints in the world, and a fastest lap point as well. So they will take the new max haul of 16 points. And I forgot to mention as well, but I mentioned it on Sunday, we have a newly revamped point system in FPRL where the winner of each race will now get 15 points. Second place will get 12, pretty much from third place downwards, with a few odd points here and there. But regardless, Reese won't complain. It's his first victory in Tier 1, and the way to welcome a new dawn in the season and a new title fight as well on the horizon, I am sure. As we'll head to the showroom, as we failed to join the session after we left. Thank you, Codemasters. Trust you. Head to the showroom, and we'll go shockingly enough to the Haas car. For Nigel Piddle, our third place driver tonight, I'm not sure if they will make it to the post-race chats, but I'm sure Nigel. That one was for Lewis Hamilton, as he's left for Ferrari, but he's not on that podium to the Mercedes driver. I've probably just shed a tear for Nigel. If I have, I apologise. But now we'll go to the Ferrari. And Monkey Boy Kurt, your choice. Do you want to have a word with Object or Reese?
I'll take P2. I'll let you have P1 considering as your main comms, mate. So that's fine by me.
Very well. Be sure to include your audio, gentlemen. And Monkey Boy Kurt, I'll hand over to you with our P2, man. Not often I say this. Object Fungus.
Yeah, Fungus gave it a good fight to Reese, but unfortunately for yourself, come out in second place. I'll just firstly start off with qualifying. Obviously that rain coming at the end probably affected a lot of people that could have gone potentially quicker. You did get into the sub 14s with a 13.9, I believe. Do you think there was any more in that lap that you could have got to potentially get even higher or even the pole position?
Yeah, it was a bit difficult qualifying. Obviously, like most of the drivers, I've adjusted my setup to the wet weather that was coming in the race, and no one exactly knew how hard it would rain. Me personally, I was thinking there would be full wet, seeing the weather conditions. So I went with a very high wing setup, and yeah, the second lap that I've done pretty much was not perfect. It was far from perfect, but was probably all I could have done. There was not a lot of improvement in there.
Yeah, well, regardless, it was still good enough for P4, which is obviously higher up the grid. Good place to start, regardless. The start of the race came then. A lot of difference in tyres for the drivers. Almost half the grid starting on inters, half the grid starting on wets. I mean, was it saying on the forecast that it was going to get heavier? Because in the end, obviously, that heavier rain never came. We had reports in the chat saying there was going to be thunder and lightning at one point, apparently, according to the forecast.
Yeah, that's true. The forecast did say that it was going from hard or heavy rain to kind of storming conditions, and then light at the end. So um, I can definitely agree with the people when they were a bit shocked that the game suggested inters instead of full wets. Um, so yeah, but I took the risk and went for the inters, and I would say the first sim was pretty even from full wets to inters, but then after a bit of time, the full wets just gave up.
Right, yeah, and then obviously, like we said, that safety car on lap 20, I believe everyone went to Inters. You and Reese just sort of in a league of your own, pulling away from the rest. I just have to ask, you gave us a great battle in those final stages, by the way. You got that 3 second penalty, and we did look through the race director, and he saw you got 2 warnings. Was that a straight penalty for cutting the chicane?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was. Obviously, me and Reese were on a bit of different strategies as he started on full wets and took, I don't know if it was the first, I guess it was the first one, the first safety car to pit for new enter. So doing the first stint, I was on all the tires. I was kind of struggling to keep up with him. But yeah, as the last safety car came, we were both pretty matched. And yeah, I was trying to find to see okay, where can I overtake it, because I was lacking a lot of straight line speed um, compared to Reese, and Imola is not known for being a track where you can easily overtake, obviously. So I was just trying to keep as close as possible to him. I've seen that he had 2 warnings already. Well, I only had 1, so I was trying to like force him into making a mistake of getting maybe a 3 second penalty or something like that. But yeah, while doing so, obviously with the higher downforce, I was able to brake late into some corners, and I guess I just misjudged it a bit, came a bit too close, locked my tires, and went through the chicane kind of straight on. Didn't gain time. I even lost time, but the game gave me a 3 second penalty straight away.
Yeah, a bit annoying. I guess, it doesn't really matter now considering that the move wasn't made. You didn't lose any positions behind you, so you should obviously keep P2. Finally, they're moving on next week. Austria is where we go to sprint race as well, so more chances for points. Do you think you'll be up in the same positions again? We would expect you to be, but Austria, good race for you, good track.
I would hope so. I didn't go into this race with as high expectations as you probably had to me. Um, since the end of last season, I've kind of been off the game, not really into the game, not really interested in any kind of racing. So it was my first time in quite a while for touching the game in a competitive way. And yeah, well, kind of got lucky that I got P2, obviously with Ceres and Drive having the incident. So I'll take the points. Was a bit mad at myself for not, gaining the last spot in the end. But yeah, Austria is enjoyable track. Always delivers good racing, especially in FPRL. I think we've seen that the last few races around Austria are always good. Have always been a race till the last lap, obviously with the DRS games and stuff. So I hope I'll get more into the game, get more race time, and we'll be able to deliver a bit of a fight. Yeah.
Well, hopefully that will be the case next week. Once again, congratulations on the P2. It's always good to see you on the podium. And I'll hand Cruiser to interview our race winner.
Thank you for that, Monkey Boy, and congratulations, Object. A good start to the campaign, and a podium to your name, another podium to your name. But very rarely, like I said, when I'm commentating, is a second place. But we go to our winner tonight, is the Haas of Reese B07. And first off, Reese, a major congratulations, and you held your nerve quite well in what was arguably some very, very challenging conditions. But before we get there, Just go through qualifying real quick. That first lap already, well, I say already, but the first lap straight into the straight into the 113s. Maybe then, I think you had an idea that something was on the cards tonight.
Well, in qualifying, I think I had an advantage over everyone because I knew that most people would go for like full heavy rain setup. I didn't go for one of them. I went just slightly lower wings. I think it was about 8 wings on both, lower than object. And that just gave me the advantage in quality. And then I don't know where my first lap come from. I was expecting to be like a mid 14 or something, but I just got it perfect. Ended up being on pole.
Yeah, certainly a very surprise pole, but obviously with the rain falling at the end, it did help quite a bit. Because we saw as well, quite a few drivers immediately backed off of their lap. But you just done a lap, no thank you, straight in the pits. But going into the race, I believe you did start on the wets, but after seeing how well the Inters did keep up with the wet runners, for that first pit stop, was it just straight to Inters and just go to the end?
No, I don't think I could have made the end on them inters. My red tires, I was predicting what percent they'd be on. They'd probably be around like 95 by the end of the race. So that wasn't the option. I was just gonna pit one lap later than object, so I could cover him off, and that should have been enough to keep the win. But going back to the start, the full wet choice, they were good for about the first corner, and that was it. I knew the inters were quicker, but I just had to deal with it until it was a safety car, and then I came straight in, and probably the best
Yeah,
strategy.
yeah, a bit of a no-brainer. But I'll say this as well. For the end of the race, you held your nerve absolutely fantastically well, and just battery management as well. Definitely played a part in that. But regarding your setup for the race, did you run slightly lower wings? Because obviously I know people, as you said, were running a bit of a wet setup. Did you try and strike a happy medium between?
Yeah, I upped my wings about on the dry side from about 4 or 5 on each wing, which is quite a lot lower than what everyone else did. So then I knew that in the final stint, the object could only overtake me. No, he couldn't overtake me on the straight because all I had to do was just use my ERS and then save it for the next lap, using my ERS again. And then that was it. And I just had to keep cool, even
That you
behind.
did. Yeah, that you did very well. And on to Austria next week, the first and, might as well say it, the first and only sprint race of our European Championship. I think from past memory, it's a track that has been good to you, but is it a track that you like to race on? Because I know it can be one big DRS express sometimes.
I can't remember any race around FPRL for me in Austria. I don't think I've ever actually done a full season, which has Austria in.
Well, now you're going to.
I think Austria's alright for me though. It's not like the hardest track to get right, which should be fun. Stay in the TRS and hopefully get a good result.
Well, there you go, and that has been a race winner, Reese B07, and I've completely ignored the fact he was in the Haas, not the Ferrari. There's the Haas back on stream and on screen. There we go. And that's going to be it for tonight's race. So a big thank you to everyone for tuning in and for watching our opening week of FPRL Season 7. We will be back on Sunday, which will be the 4th of February, where our Tier 3 drivers head to the Styrian Mountains and take on the Red Bull Ring in Austria. But before I do sign off and head to our outro, Monkey Boy Kurt, you've had some time to think about the driver of the day, and there's been some good candidates, so who are you going to choose?
There's been some good candidates. You're definitely right on that, Cruiser. I've also had some almost bribes in the chat as well, but they're not going to work, unfortunately. Mr. Diggle.
Oh, sorry, I had something.
No, 2 candidates. One's risen up the field fantastically, and one's just done everything correctly. I'm going to go. Well, unfortunately, some people are going to say that I'm going for the boring one, but I don't think you can grumble with pole position, fastest lap, and the race win. And he's held off Object Fungus. Reese, well done, mate. You're today's driver of the day.
Good. you would have gave it to Nigel, I'd be fuming.
Oh,
No, not a chance.
Well, there you go. In a way, Reese rounds off our opening round with the Grand Slam. Pole, fastest lap, race win, and driver of the day. No better way to start a campaign. And now he's got to continue that for the Tier 1 race next weekend. Oh, say next weekend, but yeah, next week on Friday, where we head to the Styrian Mountains. But as I said, Sunday the 4th of February, our Tier 3 drivers take on the Red Bull Ring first, followed by the Tier 2 drivers. You'll find me, Monkey Boy Kurt, and the rest, as we follow up from Imola and hope to keep penalties down, which is easier said than done around Austria. But, Monkey Boy Kurt, anything left to say for tonight's race?
Well, I hope the race is, well, not just in Tier 1, but across the border, as exciting as tonight. But no, looking forward to Austria. Hopefully more of the same in all the tiers. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this championship. Obviously, we've got a bit different this year, as we've already said, with European and continental seasons. But yeah, looking really forward to it, Cruiser, and like I say, hopefully more of the same next week. But thank you as well for another good race being you on commentary. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Monkey Boy Kurt, and congratulations to Nigel as well. We couldn't make the podium interviews, but as he said in the chat, that podium was for Lewis Hamilton. Much like every other podium he will receive this season. He's got to prove his word then, because he's got more podiums than what Lewis Hamilton does this year. Granted, the Formula 1 season hasn't started yet, but that's not we'll just gloss over that. I'm ever did what I can, Nigel, because we know how this is going to go. Mercedes are going to have a rocket ship. Anyway, thank you again for tuning in and for watching. And before we go, for those who are new to the Twitch streams, twitch.tv/FP Racing League. If Nigel's threatening me, saying he's going to smack me. Oh dear. I think he's going to smack me with a 20-second time penalty for Austria. But as I was saying, twitch.tv/FP Racing League. If you type !F1 in the Twitch chat, you'll get a link to a recruitment server. Complete the steps and you'll be able to compete in Season 7. And be sure to, as well, while you're here, drop a quick follow by, please. Ask nicely. We're on our way to 750 followers. We're hopefully going to get there by the end of 2024, and whatever's left above and beyond, we will see. But that has been Monkey Boy Kurt.
Thank you very much.
And this has been Cruiser 1872. It feels good to see this again on a Friday. Thank you all very much for watching, and from all of us here at FPRL, good night.